Spry is a leader in all things fitness. Check out their website at spry.com. They have rubber resistance, stability balance, weighted resistance, flexibility and mobility, athletic training, and much, much more. That's where we get all of our resistance bands for the Resistance Assistance Fitness Made Easy app, and we are now a proud partner of Spry. I could not be happier. Their product lends so well to what we do on this podcast and what we do on the app, which is health and wellness and finding a better, easier, faster way to work out with a great return on investment. You need to check out their website. It's spry.com. Check this out. When you go there now and you use promo code Ryan West, all caps, Ryan West, one word, RYANWEST, you get 15% off your order. They're already reasonably priced for such a fantastic product. It's kind of hard to believe, but you get 15% off. Check it out. Ryan West. That's the promo code, 15% off, Spry, S-P-R-I, spry.com. Head over there today, get yourself some bands, download the Resistance Assistance Fitness Made Easy app, or just get something to get yourself doing some type of exercise and get yourself into the right fitness mindset. That's spry.com, S-P-R-I, a leader in all things resistance. Hello, Revealing Healing Fighters. We have a fantastic show for you today. I'm very honored to have joining with me Riana Milne, and Riana's coming all the way from Florida. And we're videoing this one too for 2020. We're doing a lot of these on video, and then we'll throw those up on YouTube. Huge response on those. There she is. I'm jealous of the background we were talking about before we hit record. And Riana's coming on to talk about a whole host of stuff that's really been circling around the drain on stuff we've been talking about with recent guests, which is childhood trauma, mental health, having a life coach, all of these things to help you just be an overall more healthy person. And so Riana's a licensed mental health counselor, best-selling author, and life coach, among other things. Her website's really fantastic, a lot of great information, and we'll make sure to put all that in the show notes. So Riana, thank you for making time. Please introduce yourself and tell everybody a little bit about you.
Sure. Thanks, Ryan, for having me. Well, some of my other credentials. So I'm talking to you tonight about childhood trauma and its impact. Most importantly, I'm a certified clinical trauma professional, and I've been a licensed mental health counselor for over 20 years. I've also been a SAC counselor, student assistance counselor, where I work in every grade level in the schools from kindergarten all the way through college with kids that have come from more traumatic experiences or were treated differently or labeled ADHD, kids that are emotionally upset.
Yeah.
Also, I've worked in a rehab center, actually a couple of them, as a LCADC or CAP, we call it in Florida, licensed certified drug and alcohol addictions counselor. So I worked with adolescents in New Jersey and women from the prison system. I also worked in a hospital unit for adolescents and children ages 5 through 19. So over 20 years, I see that I have been working with people of traumatic situations who have gone through trauma. But it wasn't until that I had a traumatic love relationship, actually 2 of them. And at the second one, he had what I would call a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde personality type. So to the community, everyone loved him. You know, the students of his school loved him. He was a principal. The parents loved him. And then he had this whole secret life, which exploded on him. And when it did on him, he lost his position, his reputation, and it affected me because I was married to him.
Yeah, absolutely.
So my work and my reputation, and I'm an interfaith minister, and it was like, it really set me back. And I knew I had PTSD symptoms. So I called it love trauma, and wasn't defined back then. I was talking about toxic love relationships, which was not defined back then. And really, I got into the childhood trauma piece because his last words to me were, I don't know why I sabotage everything I love. I don't know what's wrong with me. And I said, I'm determined to find out what it is. Now, this is way before Kaiser Permanente's work on the ACE study, which I encountered in 2016. So at that point, I started doing my research on love trauma and found out he had childhood trauma. So the first thing I really recognized was ACOA, adult child of an alcoholic, but there was more traumas than that. So I kind of put together not only research from self-help books, but from psychological journals and what it was and how to heal it. And when I uncovered this, I was so excited about this work. It's like, I have to get this out to the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I developed a childhood trauma checklist, which was the top 10 traumas that I was seeing over and over and over again that I knew affected my many, many hundreds of people that I worked with, thousands of people over 20 years, and put this checklist together. And then I did a correlations. If they had these traumas, then this is how it would show up in adult life, love, or business.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I got into this work.
Yeah, that's quite the journey. And I was curious on how you got into it. You seem so passionate about all things childhood trauma and how it correlates back to you as an adult.
Yeah.
When you're going over the last 20 years, has it been, do you think you've seen it all and then something new comes along where it's just, it's a whole new set of trauma that you've never heard of or dealt with? Or, you know, or, as you said, to create that list of 10, or is it just kind of the recycling of this kind of the same symptoms?
There's all different types of trauma and there's all different levels. So like I said, it's my top 10 I saw most often. There's more traumas than what I name as the top 10. But they, again, I was seeing these types of things over and over again in the kids and then seeing how they impacted my therapy clients. So I took the traditional route of a triple master's in applied clinical and counseling psychology, but they didn't talk anything about childhood trauma. This is newer information. And I like the Kaiser study because they used over 17,000 people and correlated unhealed childhood trauma to earlier illness, right? And all kinds of diseases, chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, irritable bowel, the list goes on and on, but they really didn't look at life, love, or business.
Right.
And that's the area that I was looking at. So my list, I named things that they didn't have on their list. And then later they go back in a year or two and added them to their list. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. And I mean, we were talking before we hit record on this, and it's, as you know, the percentage you threw out there, if you don't have childhood trauma, you're in the minority anymore, right? I mean, that's just the reality of it, unfortunately.
Well, they're saying 90% of adults have experienced at least 1 to 3 of my top 10 childhood traumas. And those that say they didn't usually are sociopathic, where they don't have anything wrong with them.
That's right.
It's kind of like a standing joke, right?
Right.
Most people have something, and it really is up to us and as adults to recognize it, heal it. So then we're bringing an emotionally healthy person into love relationship, into the business environment. When I say it shows up in life, that could be ongoing anxiety or bouts of depression or irritable bowel, or other, diseases or illnesses that show up in life.
So when you get into this based on your own personal relationship or one of them, up until that point, then looking at childhood trauma really wasn't on your radar at all. Is that a correct statement? You really jumped in head first then from that kind of point on.
Right, after that marriage, because I really loved this person, and what he was showing me was we had a fabulous relationship.
Sure.
But then he had a whole secret life. So it's like, where did that come from? And I wanted to know.
Yeah.
It's not like he was schizophrenic,
Yeah, right.
So I had to figure out what caused him to do the things that he did. I needed those answers. And I had 7 psychotherapist friends I went to, and they didn't have a clue.
Yeah. Okay.
So this was not in our studies at that time.
Yeah. So then that's what pushes you to create your list of 10. And so when how long did it take you to come to that list before we get into it? Was it over at the 5-year mark, at the 10-year mark, did you determine, okay, I have enough data now to, or was it after the ACEs
no,
test?
it was, no, I didn't even see ACEs until years later.
Years later, right, 2016.
It was when I was gathering the research to help heal myself.
Gotcha.
And I said, I've got so much great information. I'm going to start writing a book, which led to my #1 bestseller, Love Beyond Your Dreams, Break Free of Toxic Relationships to Have the Love You Deserve. And I kept gathering information. That ended up being 400 pages. And I still have more information after that book printed.
Right.
That's when I was gathering information and put it into my 150-page workbook. So I have a very solid educational program when the client chooses to work with me, all based on research. But the top 10 was, just going through my many years of work with all different population, girls and guys, younger, older, and my adults in therapy, and put together the top 10.
Okay, so let's talk about the top 10 if you don't mind. I'm really interested to hear what this is. So what was this, was naive question, 10's Number one's the most common. Is that a correct, fair assessment? Or is
No,
it,
these are
okay.
just the top 10.
Okay. So,
Just really not put in any order. But then once I find out which traumas people have, then I will go through the severity scale of a 1 to 10.
and more in depth.
10
Okay.
being more severe. So a sociopathic person may have 9 or 10 out of the 10 traumas with severity levels of 8 through 10.
Okay.
And my ex had 9 out of the 10 with severity levels of
Yeah.
about 8,
Yeah.
which really put him as sociopathic, because those are the people that use others for pleasure or profit,
Right.
have no remorse, and never can apologize.
Right.
So, if you know the Dr. Hare's checklist of sociopath, he fit many of those traits. So
Right.
the sociopath is, again, at the higher level, and then a psychopath is a sociopath who kills.
Okay.
That's level 10 across the board usually.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
so those top 10, then, do you mind going over what each
Sure.
one of those are?
As I do, I would encourage the listeners maybe get a pen and
Yeah,
paper
absolutely.
to write it down.
Yep.
And as I do go through this, it's not about blaming your parents, and it's not about feeling ashamed yourself. We're trying to just look at these as facts. Did this happen to you?
Absolutely.
And also the research shows this goes through at least 3 generations. So if you had childhood trauma, I want to encourage you to look at your parents and what they went through. So on your checklist, you're going to have, like, the first column is you.
Mhm.
Second column would be someone you dated that you might have struggled with, or married and it was kind of a toxic relationship. And then the third column would be mom and dad.
Okay.
So as I go through, you could put mom, dad, or both if you know that they suffered with these things as well.
Okay.
Okay, so when you're a child, you're young and innocent, and you are just a product of your environment. You really can't change anything. And a lot of these things become normalized over time. So
Mhm.
the first one is if mom or dad has any kind of addiction. Now,
Okay.
the Kaiser study shows only drugs and alcohol. Me, being a drug and alcohol addiction specialist,
Mhm.
I name 11. So there's drugs, alcohol, sex, meaning you knew your parent was a chronic cheater,
Mhm.
porn, gambling, hoarding, spending, eating, gaming, TV watching, workaholism. So there's 11 right there that could have taken more precedence. And I want to really add to this list, I was just talking about over the weekend, addiction to machines, your computers, your phones, your gaming apparatus, that's
Mhm.
really becoming prevalent today, where the children are being greatly ignored
Right.
when parents are on their social media.
Right.
Okay, second, verbal abuse. Now, Kaiser said, well, if you witnessed your parents in domestic violence, yelling and screaming, that counts. Well, I worked with children that never heard, I love you,
Mhm.
or were never given compliments, or heard constantly verbal put downs. You'll amount to no good. Shut up. Your opinion doesn't matter. Go away. We don't care what you have to say. These verbal put downs that make you feel unworthy
Mhm.
are very important, or also being screamed at. Or the other one I name is passive aggressive behavior, where they shut down and stonewall, meaning not talk to you for hours or days when they're mad at you.
Right.
So those are all verbal abuses I name.
Okay.
Third one is emotional abuse or neglect. Fourth one is physical beatings or sexual abuse, rape, or molestation. So anything on the physical side. The next one they didn't name at all, which is abandonment.
Mm.
And there's 2 types, fault and no fault abandonment.
Mhm.
So in no fault abandonment is if a parent happens to die early, if a parent happens to go off to war. I know the children in the school were always worried, is my mom or dad coming home alive?
Right. Sure.
Okay, I live in that high anxiety. Or if your parent happens to work a lot away from home. Now, my dad supported the family by being an FBI and CIA agent. We didn't know my dad was James Bond. Okay, so a fault abandonment would be something like a parent never involved in the child's life.
Right.
If they were involved for a while, then took off and are rarely seeing you, it's very inconsistent.
Mhm.
Or even if they do see you on weekends, you're kind of basically ignoring them.
Right.
You're involved with football the whole time, or you're
Yep.
with your new partner and the kid's
Yep.
just in their room on their computer.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are fault abandonments. The next one is if you were adopted, part of foster care. 2 things the ACE study didn't name. Okay, and I worked with kids from the foster care system.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm like, how can they miss that, right?
Yeah.
And now they added these things later. They added abandonment later. Okay, so those, or if you had to go live in another adult's home, like a grandmother or an aunt or a family friend, because your parents couldn't take care of you or there wasn't enough room for you.
Right.
Or they lost their home. Okay, the next one, number 7, is one of the most common, and we call that personal trauma. That would be if you were bullied, if you felt different at school, again, labeled ADHD, oppositional defiant. You might have been an overweight kid or skinny and gawky and called a nerd and picked on for that. All different race issues. You know, you were the only African American in an all Caucasian school. You felt different. So there's many ways of not feeling good enough or fitting in. This one is huge, and when it comes to a lot of different things. Okay. Trauma number 8 is sibling trauma. This could be your sibling bullied you, or they were born with medical complications demanding more of mom's and dad's time and attention.
Yep.
Or most often they were perceived as the golden child. So spoiled or more cherished by mom and dad. They might have been the super athlete or more handsome or more beautiful or more intelligent. Just something was giving them more time and attention.
Okay.
Trauma number 9, actually, I had to have 2 parts in there because I had to bring one in from the later list. So one I brought down from the later list that years ago was not so prevalent, but is now, is community trauma. This is our mass shootings, our school shootings, our loss of communities by flood, fires, volcanoes, hurricanes. All these massive Mother Nature disasters are community trauma.
Sure.
Of course, this is upsetting adults. Can you imagine little children being involved with the community trauma? It's going to be terribly frightening.
Yeah.
And then the other one is family trauma under number 9. And that's if you grew up in poverty or in a scary environment, feeling on edge all the time. You grew up with a lot of lack and poverty. Your parent was incarcerated. I also write down military families that have to move every 2 to 4 years, thus displacing the child into new schools all the time. So those are some family traumas that I name. And then the next one, number 10, is mental health illness in mom or dad. So the most difficult to live with is bipolar and borderline. Just for the listeners, borderline personality I would describe as extreme moodiness. When they're good, they're great. When they're bad, they're horrid, and you never know what you're going to get.
Right.
Very unstable. And then bipolar is manic depressive. So manic could be a gambling spree, a spending spree, an eating binge, something like that. Depression can come as checking out emotionally, extreme fatigue, or anger.
Gotcha.
So those are the top 10 that I name.
And we'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. Hey guys, I want to talk to you real quick about Spry, S-P-R-I, that's spry.com. Spry is a leader in all things fitness. Check out their website at spry.com. They have rubber resistance, stability balance, weighted resistance, flexibility and mobility, athletic training, and much, much more. That's where we get all of our resistance bands for the Resistance Assistance Fitness Made Easy app, and we are now a proud partner of Spry. I could not be happier. Their product lends so well to what we do on this podcast and what we do on the app, which is health and wellness and finding a better, easier, faster way to work out with a great return on investment. You need to check out their website. It's spry.com. Check this out. When you go there now and you use promo code Ryan West, all caps, Ryan West, one word, RYANWEST, you get 15% off your order. They're already reasonably priced for such a fantastic product. It's kind of hard to believe, but you get 15% off. Check it out. Ryan West. That's the promo code, 15% off, Spry, S-P-R-I, spry.com. Head over there today, get yourself some bands, download the Resistance Assistance Fitness Made Easy app, or just get something to get yourself doing some type of exercise and get yourself into the right fitness mindset. That's spry.com, S-P-R-I, a leader in all things resistance. Yeah, it's fascinating. Seriously. And as you're reeling all these off, it's like, these are also prevalent. It's a no brainer. Cause number 3, I'm like, well, what's going to be next? And then, beatings. Okay. Yeah. And then abandonment. Oh, okay. Adoption and foster care, which is interesting. That's not on the ACEs altogether. And I know real little about the ACEs test. So or assessment. Let me ask you. So, have you had people who fit all? Well, yeah, I guess you have. Your
Yes.
ex-husband 9 or 10. It was just that's really scary to think somebody goes through all of this.
As a matter of fact, in my South Jersey school, I was in an elementary school, and I was, again, the SAC counselor. I was holding friendship groups. These were all the kids that bullied, and 9 out of 10 of them had a parent incarcerated.
Wow, it's amazing, isn't
So,
it?
yes, I dealt with all these kids, and that's why I put the list together. And like I said, my ex had 9 of them.
Yeah.
And this is what I said. Okay, so why? Because they experienced this. How can this come out later in life?
Yeah.
So then I made the correlations.
Yeah, well, it's fascinating to connect the dots. Is there more males in this group than females, or
90%? There is no prejudice. Straight LGBT population, we all go through it. Women, men.
Yeah.
There's no prejudice here.
No bias at all. So then,
No.
when you put this list together based on your study and your assessment and your experience of going through all this, how do you connect them to the adulthood, or what's going on now? So that's part seems so fascinating to me, to be able to pinpoint why somebody is the way they are today back to that.
Yeah, there's many combinations, but
yeah,
I'll
I'm
name
sure
a
there
few.
are. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so where's jealousy and control come from? That usually comes from trauma number 7.
Okay.
Not feeling good enough, being picked on, you're not pretty enough, you're not part of the cool kids, right? So even if there's a beautiful woman who grew into a beautiful woman, she might be jealous of her boyfriend because she still feels inside in the trauma she's not good enough, pretty enough. It also could be a combination of verbal messages, even the messages you did not hear, like, I'm proud of you, I love you, or wow, you look pretty today.
Right.
You're not hearing those. You might feel, I never look good enough.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
Like, let's talk about the little girl who, as a woman, becomes a people pleaser. She might have had the difficult alcoholic mother. So got her siblings out, got them dressed, ready for school, fed them breakfast, got them to the bus stop. And instead of being yelled at by the hungover mother, she would just say, thanks, I love you. So she got that little bit of love by overdoing and over pleasing, just so they wouldn't all get screamed at. She became super responsible. So then she's prone to people please. And this might be a wife coming in and I hear, you know what, Riana, my husband and my kids don't love me as I love them. I do everything for them and they do nothing to show me they love me.
Right.
Okay.
Do you think that, is there more prevalence between, how different are the similarities between a mother with addiction and a father with addiction? Does that,
they're both bad.
Both. Yeah. Does that change?
Yeah.
Does one do one thing different versus the other, or does that make sense?
Well, yeah, I could give you an example there. If there was a man that grew up with a very difficult alcoholic mother, and she was always nasty or criticizing him, then he would have a low respect for women. This is what I call in my book of 20 personality types that could break your heart. That's mentioned as a mother hater.
Yeah.
So if he could never forgive his mom and always hated her because she was always difficult and mean to him, that was never healed. So it's not that he doesn't want love. He may even work really hard to have love. And then soon, when he feels he's got it, they can hold it together for the first 90 days, but the research shows 4 months into 1 year, when it becomes serious, they move in together, get engaged, married, or have a baby. This is transitional time where a lot of emotional triggers tend to come out.
Okay. Fascinating. Yeah, that makes total sense. It's just so amazing how much your childhood will screw with you. It's just fascinating to me to hear you talk about this. I did not mean to interrupt you. I was just curious on that part of it. Let me ask you this too, on the sibling trauma. Brother mean to sister versus sister mean to brother, or brother mean to brother. Do you see a lot of differences in those combinations? I realize there's so many different combinations with some of the stuff. Is sibling trauma, and there's not a lot of... It
really depends what it is. If it's physical, like a brother beating up a brother.
Right.
The younger one could feel very demasculated, right? Not manly enough. If it's a older sister picking on a younger sister, again, it could be about beauty, or it depends if she's calling her names. You're fat, no one will ever like you. It depends really on the messages.
Yeah.
that comes out, whether it's verbal or physical,
So,
emotional.
so let me ask you this. So that list is full of people who have to go through adversity. There are people who make it through this and do these amazing things. And I'm
Of
trying
course.
to always promote, adversity can create opportunity. So let me ask you the
Yes.
flip side of that then. So going through these things, what, in your opinion, this is a really off the cuff question, do you believe that these give you an extra set of skills that others don't have when you have to go through
It can
big
teach you
things?
a lot of resiliency. Let's
Right,
talk about my main client is successful in business but struggles in love.
right.
I also have,
Great example. Yeah.
some corporate executives and also entertainers. Okay, so a lot of the entertainers may have imposter syndrome. They don't think they're good enough to be on that record label
Hmm.
or to be in that show. How did I get it? Why did I get it? Why am I
Right,
getting all these accolades? And then they start drinking or
right.
using pills because they don't feel worthy of
Hmm.
what they're getting or the money that they're getting. It's the same a lot for sometimes pro athletes. So it could be those messages, but also it could be, let's say I have the little boy that had the father that beat him comes home with an F on his test. He just, geez, if I show him an F, I'm really going to get hit today. So I'll make it into an A, and he finds he gets away with it. So
Hmm.
he goes, oh, wow, lying works.
Hmm.
So that might be someone that pros to lie a lot.
Right.
And if he doesn't get love at home, he may be the class clown or the teacher's pet. Well, if I schmooze the teacher, instead of a D, I might get a C. So,
Hmm.
I'll ask her if she needs any chores done. So then he's learning to be charming and manipulative to get his way, you see,
Gotcha. Yeah.
because there's not love happening at home. So this is where the manipulation can come in
Hmm.
someone that's sociopathic. They learn to schmooze other people to get their way or what they want.
Yeah. Fascinating. So in
Hmm.
the interest of time, I really appreciate you coming to talk about this. So, um, first of all, what prompted you to write the book, and what's the name of the book again?
I have two books or
Okay.
sister books: Love
Okay.
Beyond Your Dreams, Break Free of
Okay.
Toxic Relationships to Have the
Okay.
Love You Deserve. And that
Yeah.
was the #1 bestseller on Amazon. Both are sold in Barnes and Noble stores in the US.
Okay.
The sister book is called Live Beyond Your Dreams:
Okay.
From Fear and Doubt to Personal Power, Purpose, and Success. They're both 5-star rated. But one is about the mindset for success, which is what I teach to help my people heal from this,
Hmm.
making the unconscious behavioral patterns conscious,
Right.
and going from negative fear-based messages to positive proactive messages.
Yeah.
It's quite a process
I'm
getting the
sure.
trauma out of the brain and body cells. It takes
Absolutely.
4 to 6 months to do that, but they are meant to go together because one is about having emotionally healthy love and the other one is about empowerment with the mindset for success in all life areas.
Yeah, fascinating stuff. So how can people, talk about your website real quick? Let's end on that. And how can people reach out to you?
Sure.
And I guess one of the main questions I want to ask you. So the people that you help, are they just walking in the door? Are they reaching out to you? Or
Well,
through
I'm
social?
global, Ryan, so I
Yeah,
work over the internet. So I work with people all around the
very cool.
world.
Yeah,
An example was a woman from Lebanon who woke up every day during the war hearing bombs going off, not
yep,
sure she'd be alive that day.
yeah,
So this is why I'm saying I work with all kinds of trauma.
sure.
So I work globally through the internet, which is a wonderful thing. And they find me through my website, through
Okay.
podcasts and summits like
Yeah,
yours.
absolutely.
And they hear the message and it's like, wow, that's me. And maybe they're driving. It's like, wait, I want to take that test. So
Yep.
on my website, rianamilne.com, you can go to the Take the Quizzes tab, and there's 4 free love tests there. And one is the childhood trauma checklist.
Okay.
Okay, so you can see if you have it. And then the ebook is free, and that goes deeper into childhood trauma. And then I do have free book chapter downloads on both Live and Love Beyond Your Dreams in the book section. So
Awesome.
all kinds of gifts. And then my
Yeah.
podcast is Lessons in Life and Love. And I have an app, Lessons in Life and Love, on the go. So you can listen to podcasts to get more information on this topic.
Very cool. And I'll make sure to put all this in the show notes, and we'll put you on and your information on the homepage of my website, because I think it relates so well to the people we get on, a lot of these folks, they're able to pull themselves out of the adversity, but we've had folks on that are really battling with it still too. And
Yeah.
it's just the childhood trauma part is such an important part. And when you have childhood trauma and then you get sick on top of that as an adult, it's just really pretty powerful stuff. So
it's really important that you do heal the body and the brain cells, because it is stress and trauma that is unhealed that leads to disease and illness. You're
Totally
wearing
agree.
down the immune system.
Totally.
This high anxiety, the bouts of depression will stay until you have this conscious awareness mindset work. And this is what I teach my people. So,
I mean, I totally agree with you on that. Why? I just got to ask you this real quick. Why do more people not buy into that, do you think? Where if you've carried the stress and trauma and depression, you got to get it out of your system or it really just wreaks havoc. How come more people don't buy into that?
Well, we've been snowed by the pharmaceutical companies that take a pill, it'll solve your problem. It doesn't. Right. It's a Band-Aid. You're not getting to the root issues. Right. And this is what I do. I get to the root issues. We go, the first module in my training is awake to awareness. You have to be aware of what happened to you. You have to bring it up, process it, forgive it. There is a spiritual component to this for health and healing. Learn the mindset work, and then learn the exact skills you need to have emotionally healthy love, because nobody taught us that either, right?
Yeah.
So you've got to look at, pharmaceutical companies have been around for years pushing these drugs, and the childhood trauma work is fairly new. Mm-hmm. Right. I'm one of just a couple of people talking about it. And then the ACEs study is all about disease, but to hear the component around life and love and business is totally different from the ACEs study. Mm-hmm. So
fascinating stuff.
Very important topic, and you are helping me get it out there to the world. So thank you, Ryan.
Well, I'm honored to have you on, and that's a good way to end this one, because I want to respect your time. I know how bad the weather is in Florida right now, so I want you to make sure that you can. It's only 40 below here in Iowa.
It's actually really gorgeous today.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
Sorry.
No, I really appreciate your time, ladies and gentlemen. The world famous Riana Milne, and Riana Milne's website is rianamilne.com. I have it pulled up right now. There's a lot of really great information on there. A lot of free stuff, as she said, you can go out and do. I'll make sure to put your information in the show notes on the podcast, and then also. I really want to put your stuff on our homepage as well, so people can get it.
Great, Ryan. Thank you so much.
Thank you for making time. Congratulations on everything you're doing. It sounds like you have a real passion for this, and that list is fascinating. I can't wait to get on your website and check out more. Thank you.
Yeah, go on and do it for yourself. Check it out for yourself.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening, Revealing Healing Fighters. I hope you were motivated and inspired by that one. Riana, I want to thank you one more time for coming on. Just fascinating stuff. That is a real great indicator of what childhood trauma can do that you've put together. So congratulations on all your success. Don't forget, folks, please visit my website, ryanwest.live. Get on the email list, subscribe to the podcast, and leave me a review after this one. We're about to end. Go on, leave me a review. I'd really appreciate it. That helps push the podcast up. And, by the way, technically you're not even, it's taboo to tell people to leave a review on your own podcast, but I don't really care. We're going to break all the rules. Leave one so we get more people out to see it. Till next time, folks, stay healthy. And as always, stay motivated. Bye-bye.